Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to have you both here with us. Maybe you can just kick off with a brief introduction to She Will. For people who haven't seen it yet, what can they expect?
Magic, utter fantasy. No, I don't know. Well, I guess we're kind of categorizing it as psychological horror. Yes, psychological thriller. An unlikely friendship kicks off between two women, like many women, who come from two different backgrounds and two different levels of trauma. We all experience on a daily basis as women, like a low-grade fever, trauma, and through this kind of imbued personification of nature, I would say, I'm doing my best with a summation, but you know, Scotland is home to the highest density of women who were wrongly accused of witchery and burned at the stake, which is pervasive misogyny in its finest form. And, you know, so it's said that the land holds these kind of metaphysical properties that can catch fire to the hymns of unexpecting women, young and old, doesn't matter. And we embark on this journey for Veronica to heal from a double mastectomy, and myself, inner city nurse, we kick off a friendship, a healing of sorts in Veronica's engagement of her own healing. I then am forced to address and engage my own. And if that is not a reflection of where we are as a society, I do not know what is.
And maybe you can tell us a bit about what first drew you both to being involved with the project. You know, was it Charlotte? Was it the script? And you know, and what about your characters? Were you so drawn to play these characters?
The script is quite wonderful. It addresses many things very lightly, many layers woven together, and you don't see the layers until by the end the whole tapestry emerges, or perhaps I should say painting. Charlotte is a consummate artist, and she brings that sensibility to the piece. Yeah. So there was that, a most unusual, layered, dense, but not in your face script, because it's in some ways quite oblique. And I think it takes the viewer on quite a journey. And the character, for me, Veronica, the role that I play, I was just enormously moved. She has experienced layers of trauma in her life. And we talk about trauma and it makes it sound very heavy, but it's actually not. The film has a dreamlike quality to it from my perspective. And what moved me about Veronica was the way in which, not expecting it, she is taken down a road that helps her release or dispense with this mask of protection, this suit of armor that she's created, by the unexpected presence of the spirits of these women that were burned. And we shot in that part of Scotland. And she's taken on that journey by this presence, and also by this nurse who she really doesn't want anywhere near her, but the person's compassion and her way of dealing with what happened to her was to reach out to others who've been hurt. And so this unlikely road trip. Yeah. It's a road trip movie, but it's a psychological road trip.
I've never heard anyone describe it as a road trip, and it is a road trip,
both physically and also psychologically.
Yes,
and I don't know how Charlotte does it, but it's an artist's gift, I guess. It's not a gift that I would have. I couldn't do what she's done, which is somehow, without your knowing it, telling a story, but visually, it's the most extraordinary score.
Mm-hmm.
I don't usually
yes.
like scores in movies. I don't like being told what I'm to feel or think. But somehow this is a character in the movie. So it's an experience. Whoever goes to the movie is in for just an astonishing experience.
Absolutely.
A multi-layered, visual, auditory, hopefully emotional.
Spiritual, definitely.
Yeah. So,
gotta throw that in there.
Yeah. And talk to us about the process of making it, because there's real moments of connection between your characters. There's moments of levity, like the scenes with Rupert Everett when you're doing your, artist lessons, and then there's such intensity as well, and having to shoot in the woods. So, what were some of the highlights and challenges?
The weather. I would start with the weather. Oh my goodness! The extremity for me, just holding space for characters is a challenge in itself, because you're approaching a channel. You're a channeler. When you're really in it, you are in it. You are living imaginary circumstance, without a doubt. And a spectator can easily tell the difference between whether or not you're connected to the work or you're not. The weather, on top of having to now imagine living an imaginary circumstance, be with me there. Because now you have an element that is very real, non-negligible, undeniable, that you have to face. It's cold, there's icicles on the grass outside. It's just, you can't avoid it. So it's almost a surrender. And what the greatest fights really are, surrenders. That is the strongest choice, almost always, is to surrender. And so I started to let go to the environment and allow myself to move within it. And it helped me really lean into my character and lean into Veronica, Alice's character. That was one of the biggest challenges of the film. Another challenge is that I didn't have really any time to prepare. Charlotte called me, neither of us auditioned, which was a dream. I love a director that just believes and sees me, really sees me integrally, and understands my trajectory and maybe my purpose and what kind of characters I would like to play. And Charlotte, Colin Jones, the casting director, knew of me and suggested me to Charlotte, and Charlotte just took to me and she said, I think you're perfect for Desi. Can you get on a plane tomorrow? I mean, like maybe in 2 days or something like that. I was just like, okay. She was so likable, so wonderful. I love her background in art. I love the way that she's kind of a maestro when it comes to working with people. So one of the biggest things for me was just lack of preparation. But it's perspective is the elixir of life. It's how you look at it. Because it allowed me to throw myself into something without thinking about predispositions or anything that could hold me back. I didn't get into my head, I didn't overanalyze myself, which is something that we women are always doing. Because we're constantly living underneath of the regime of pervasive misogyny. Without even knowing it, we navigate constantly situations that could potentially be combustible, flammable, And it's heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking way to live. So just the very essence of doing this film brought me outside of the expectations, I hear Charlotte's voice, of the expectations of society. So fundamentally, it changed me as a human being. And I hope that it changes the world.
What do you hope overall people will take away from the film? Because, it is kind of this journey, there's the supernatural element, but then you can also see it as kind of a completely unique take on a kind of post-Me Too world, kind of living through trauma and kind of being able to, exert revenge in a way that a lot of women maybe feel powerless to do in their real lives. So, what do you hope the overall takeaways will be?
I personally think Veronica wasn't out for revenge. Veronica wanted the truth to be told, and she wanted him to face the truth, because he was about to cast another young girl, and I guess do the whole thing all over again. For me, the takeaway is the possibility of hope that arises through connection with other people. The redemption that's possible through connecting with people and accepting affection and help and love. And also just an astonishing experience of movies, you know. Yeah, it's a yeah. What do you hope?
I don't know, I'm dancing because it's October and I feel like all of my powers are in full peak mode.
Oh, really?
I'm a rising Scorpio,
so tell us.
Somebody come get me. For me, I really feel the biggest takeaway is the reimagining of the word witch. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about witch? Can we stop calling women who are really just taking control of the narrative a witch? Can we stop with the Medusas in politics? Can we stop calling women nasty? Can we utilize each other the way that we use crystals to realign each other to our divine purpose? Can we see past physical and get into the ethereal? Can we enact what is innate and indelible? I would like this film to be a film that is shown, for instance, in Saudi Arabia, that is screened there, where women encounter relentless amounts of disparity, and they're constantly navigating in a society that does not navigate them. I would love, that's just an example, I would love for this kind of film to be shown in places where women feel invisible, where they do not have a voice. I would love for this film to transform the idea behind calling someone a witch. I believe that you can be a witch and it is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you are conjuring up some spirits. I believe that you can hold seances for the living, in the words of Catherine Valente.
And very finally, just quickly, you know, do you think films like this show that we've kind of made progress in the sense that, you know, got a female film director, female protagonists, and, you know, roles for women who are older as well?
Yes,
for sure. And do you think we still need to see more of that, though?
Yes, I really do think that there is a sea change, that everyone's stories be told. Women's stories, there are many other groups that have been unrepresented, whose voices haven't been heard, and I think this is the beginning of that being possible, which is quite wonderful.
All right, I think about time, but it was so nice to speak to you both. Thanks so much for
Pleasure is
speaking
ours.
with us. Thank you.
Thank you.